Ah, good afternoon, darlings, tuning into the live. Darlings tuning into the replay. Welcome to another edition of Marketing Snacks with the amazing Ruth Aliu. I'm a fangirl for a second here, darlings, as I mentioned her, and I'll also give us maybe 1 minute or two just for folk to come in as the stream picks up. I see we are now popping in here. The magic of technology, which is kind of our theme for the day. So as people are getting settled, I would love to know, please drop in the comments, hey chat, where you're coming in from and what's your favorite snack? Ruth, what is your favorite snack?
I would say it depends. So now this is summer season, so I'm into like watermelons and cherries, but I'm also like into like really salty. I'm into like sea salt type of chips as well. So it depends on the day you ask me.
I would double down on like watermelon right now, and there are some beautiful blueberries and berry season right now is what I'm using as a nice pick me up in the hot sun. And I live with pet parrots, so it's great to be able to have a meal with them. By the way, folks, when people say someone eats like a bird, that doesn't mean anything. Birds are the messiest creatures on the planet. So awesome. Well, thank you so much, Ruth. I thought maybe we'd start today. We're talking about making your marketing tech stack work harder for you, and I've brought you in. So I wondered if you could do a little 1 minute intro on who you are and why are you coming here to talk to us in these little circles today?
Sure thing. Thanks, Alison, for having me. As my headline says, I'm Ruth Aliu. I run an IT consulting firm called Techity Consulting. Been doing that for about 4 years now. So we support coaches, consultants, and service providers, leverage the tech tools that they use and ensure that they are using it for faster growth and to make more money. My background is in cybersecurity, and I've been doing that for well over a decade. And I can't wait to get into the heat of things.
Thank you so much. And darlings, I'm Alison Kay of Alison Kay Consulting. I help B2B businesses putting good into the world, get more eyeballs on the good work they're doing, especially when what you offer is nuanced, highly complex, or sensitive in nature. And the reason I have Ruth on here is some of you folk may know I am a bit of a marketing tech, or as we like to call, MarTech nerd. But who does the MarTech nerd go to when she's in a pickle? It's Ruth. Whichever direction Ruth is in this thing. Ruth has been by my side now for the last 2 years. She's also an associate with me inside of Alison Kay Consulting, and we love to help clients who have, like, they want to connect the fiddly bits of the marketing side with the technical bits. And often what can happen is sometimes we hope to press a button and it works. But for the rest of the time, when it doesn't press a button and it works, what happens? And even deeper, which what we're going to get into today, is this idea around, as founders of small companies, you probably have a lot of subscriptions, and you probably have a lot of tech doing this and doing that. And summer is a perfect time, right? For some of us, it's our slower season to kind of get our arms around what's happening here. And I actually went through this recent process with Ruth for my own. I went through a really deep dive on all the different technology I was using for marketing to see where I could save costs and be more efficient. And she put me through my paces. But today, I promise, darlings, she's giving us a very abridged version of some fun ideas and questions we can think about. So if you're watching and you happen to have a paper and pencil handy, you might want to think through some of the questions that she is going to say here. But before we get into those questions, Ruth, any other thoughts of why now might be a good time for us as founders in B2B service space to start reflecting on our marketing stack and how we can make it serve us better and stronger in our business goals?
Sure, Alison. I would say that for most service providers, if you're a service provider listening live on the replay, or depending on your kind of business, I think for some of you, summer is a slower season compared to, say, the fall or the winter. But even if this is your busiest season, I think that summer presents an opportunity with the sunshine. It gives an opportunity for you to start thinking about what your business is looking like. It presents an opportunity to start working on your business and not just in your business. And that means getting a sense of what are all these tools that I'm using? Are they still serving my current goals? Are they still serving my future goals, whether it's short term or long term? And yeah, we're just here to set you up for success as you go into the summer months and prepare for your big launches in the fall. or your big e-commerce reveals for Black Friday, Cyber Monday, whatever part of the spectrum you fall in when you think about the fall season for your business.
I love it. And I think that we can't be effective from the marketing side of where this tech kind of pulls in, is that marketing is part of that movement of getting people who don't know that we exist to suddenly see that we are visible. And so the MarTech can also help us with that, with our business goals and marketing goals. But sometimes there's this disconnect, right? Because we know, or we're deepening those goals, and we wish that the tech we selected, or the bunch of tech that we selected, would sort of just know somehow naturally to come out of our head, be on the paper. It all is just seamless, right? But it can be, I find in the work that I do with clients, when we start to maybe relook at ideal client profiles, or they're going into a new market, somewhere along the way, one of the bottlenecks is probably going to be the MarTech stack. And it's not because of the choices that were made. And it's, you know, in the work that Ruth and I have done, rarely is there one solution that's going to fix all the needs. But often as founders, we may, because it's easy to swipe our digital credit card and have that subscription, and we muck around with it enough, maybe we get a virtual assistant, set up some of it. Sometimes in our work of being more strategic, we rub up against this part, which is the MarTech part, right? Does it still serve us? Do we really know what we're using? Are we paying too much? Is there a better option for what we're doing? Are we in a season of growth and scale, as you mentioned, where we're going to need to put on more? Or are we on a season of refinement and maybe reducing, whatever that might mean? And so today, Ruth is going to take us through some questions. If you all thought this was going to be a tech support time, now's not the time. But Ruth is wicked, and by any point in time, always drop her a DM here on LinkedIn to ask her about this. But I'm going to take us through some of Ruth's questions here, and she's going to really lead us, and I'm just going to pepper it in with my good old-fashioned silly puns. But here's the first thing here that she would like to cover. There we go. Is, have you identified the tech tools you use for marketing? What's this all about, Ruth?
Sure, Alison. And I wanted to, before I go into that question, I think when we use the word tech, it sounds big. It sounds like I just use like this simple Canva software that I log on to. Is that what you consider tech? Yes. Anything that is not pen or paper that you have to log into a software or you have installed in your computer that you are leveraging for any part of your business is what we consider tech tools, even though in this context is a bit redundant. So we will say, thinking about all of the different areas of your marketing. I don't know marketing. Alison knows that. I am thinking about it from a software or online tool that you use. Have you identified what those are? I find that as service providers, small businesses, consultancy firms, agencies, we are great with trying out all the cool tools. But after a while, you kind of lose sight of, where does this fall in my workflow? Where does this fall in my pipeline? So I'd like you to reflect with this first question to say, hey, can I actually name the tools that I use for my marketing? Or do I use this tool or software? For instance, let's use Canva. What do you currently use Canva for? Do you consider Canva a tool you use for marketing? Or if you don't use Canva, is there another solution that is part of what you use for your marketing? As we go through the other questions, you'll see why going with this first step is key in identifying that, because we're going to continue to build on that, and you're going to come out of today's call making your MarTech work harder for you.
And having gone through this with Ruth, one thing that I thought was interesting was sometimes my first reaction to a piece of technology I was using was very specific to marketing. But when I reflected, I realized it actually was also part of my business development, my onboarding or offboarding of my clients, which I think, I'm trying to think of an example. I work in Dubsado, which is my content management system, and a little bit of my proposals in that. And so is it marketing? No, but in a way it can be, because part of it flows into, if my marketing is working well, I get leads and they come through there. So while I might not have on the onset thought of it from there, as Ruth and I work together, we realized that it does, like some of your answers, folk, might cover other areas of your business, which kind of helped me calm down or understand a bit that the value of a piece of software might be that it works in different areas of my business in tandem with marketing, which simply meant it didn't go on the chopping block so fast when we started looking at that optimization. So it sounds like a silly question, but it is good. And also, I think in this work too, I realized, wait a minute, I'm not using a specific feature on another thing that also could help with marketing. So this question really helped me to like just stop and just focus like item by item. I opened up my my statement, and because as we all know, a lot of these things are just monthly incurrences, and went line by line. And I actually had more than I thought. And I know, folk, I'm a marketer, so that's expected. But actually, like if you just told me to verbalize it, but when I went through this project, I realized there was actually a couple of items that I'd paid for and forgotten about, and a couple that I thought were for marketing, but maybe I wasn't really using them for marketing. So this is a great question.
So this second one is a mouthful, but I promise it's as simple as it's written. So now that you've identified it, how well do you think each of those tools, software, how are they meeting your marketing goals at all? And if they are, kind of score it from like a 1 to 5. Is it it wasn't as advertised, or it was advertised, or I haven't had the chance to play around with the cool features. I have seen that it has cool features, but I haven't had a chance to check it out. And that's okay. This call is not to call you out. It is really to, you know, reflect on what you're currently paying your hard-earned dollars for. So is it fitting your marketing goals, and is it fitting your business needs? If you look at what your current goals and say your Q2 goals are, or your Q3, Q4 goals, is it meeting that need? If you think about what part of your funnel, maybe, and I know Alison has opinions about the use of the one funnel, but when you think about your marketing pipeline, like we're talking the technical term, do you think that the current tools that you're using are actually meeting that need, or you're finding that it has evolved over time and just kind of shifted? Where it's like, when it comes to getting inbound leads, for example, it's not doing a fantastic job anymore. Or when it comes to maybe say sending out email marketing, for example, it's not doing that anymore. I'm seeing a drop in something, or people are not subscribing as much. Just kind of do a 1 to 5 for me for each of them. Yeah, is it meeting it, slightly meeting, strongly meeting, your marketing goals? And are they really pulling their weights? Are they pulling their weight? Do you feel like what you're paying for versus what you're getting, there's a mismatch there? The reason why I'm giving this extra context is so that it's going to build up to our next question, so that you're really able to come out of today's call, like I said, prioritizing each of your tools and determining if going forward these tools are serving you, or you should consider consolidating or migrating to something else.
Excellent. And if folk want a concrete example again of me doing this, when I think about some of my marketing goals, was I always recognized that when I gave talks down the road, it would come and turn into clients. So I knew that video marketing was key. Obviously, we're looking at one, like Darwin's, here's a look through the curtain. Literally what I'm doing right now is a marketing part of my marketing goal. In doing this audit work with Ruth, I realized when we talk about that short and long term, I had kind of gone through this phase where I was certain that I could do all this video editing myself. And I was kind of buying random, what do you call it? Like AppSumo sales. And I had like this little cluster of marketing tech to help me edit videos that I hadn't touched. And so when I think about my short and long-term goals, that really allowed me to reflect on, while my goal was to make sure I'm doing more video work, I was spending money and actually not using these products. So they're almost short-sighted in my choosing. And so number one, I was able to get rid of them because I realized, why am I keeping a subscription? And honestly, darlings, it really helped me realize that tech wasn't going to save me. And now I work with a video editor to do all of my content distribution. So sometimes even this audit will help us refine our business as a whole, as well as our marketing. So again, I thought I'll just fill this out, and then realize, oh my goodness, I've been like squirreling away video editing software and not doing anything with it. And I needed to hold myself accountable as a business owner about what that meant. And then what were other effective ways for me to meet that business goal, or sorry, that marketing goal that maybe tech wasn't. And I know most people are y'all probably got like 1 or 2 or 5 of these that are probably taking up space. I also just want to do a shout out here that Maria in Ottawa just wants to do a shout out for Ruth. She said Ruth was incredible in helping me get my tech stack sorted out, streamlined, and updated. She is a dream to work with. We did not ask her to do that. We are so thankful. I'm so thankful. I know, like, darlings, I know how incredible Ruth is, but I did just want to point that out for folks. So thank you so much, darling, for sharing that love, because I think that this is incredible work. Anything else on that question there before I move on to the next one there?
I think I just wanted to chime in on the AppSumo. AppSumo is a trap. You're seeing shiny new tools, $20 here, a lifetime 1999 deal there, and then you're like, I'm not sure about that. So we hope that after this call, when you see AppSumo flashing sales, you're able to come back to what you've done today and say, okay, where does this AppSumo deal fall in my marketing goals? So that's all I wanted to add before we go to the next question. Okay.
I literally had to, I just unsubscribed from the newsletter, darling, because it really was like, it's like Temu for like tech nerds. That's how I want to put it. And that was a big step for me, getting rid of not knowing, because I wasn't actually thinking today's the day I want a lifetime savings on an app that can put in captioning. Like, it just disrupts us. So it's a good point to put out there.
Okay, question number 3. We have identified, we have mapped the tools to your goals, marketing, or your business overall. Have you identified that you're seeing similarities in the features as you've used them in the course of the year? This is June. So maybe you renewed your subscription at the beginning of the year, or you recently signed up to another tool, maybe in the last month or last 2 months. Are you finding that it is doing something similar to something you already have, or maybe does it better? And this can be a good thing. It depends on how you look at it. I look at overlap on one side where redundancy is a good thing. This year alone, we've had a lot of outages. The other day, Cloudflare went down. With Cloudflare went Google Workspace. So many software that small businesses use for their daily operations. People could not get on calls with their clients. People could not receive emails. People could not communicate. And so while one tool is great for everything, sometimes it's also a single point of failure. But depending on what your business is, where you don't lose anything, like, yes, there's an outage, but it doesn't really change anything. Maybe you have an alternate way of reaching out to them that is outside of that tool set. If there's an overlap, you can go to that other software and quickly set up like a quick email, import their list, send an email out, and that is it. Canva has been down significantly recently, actually. This year, Canva has had a couple of outages. I think it still had one in the last 3 to 4 days. And as long as technology exists, there will be things like this. And so it's a function of how do you plan for when there's outages like that. And we see that happens more with software as a service, the ones that are only accessible when you're online. And so you have to think about, okay, if Canva goes down, do I have another kind of graphic design marketing thing that is installed on my computer that I can do a makeshift approach with? So I've talked about it on one side, talking about redundancy. It can be strategic, it can be great for risk mitigation, it can keep things simple for different purposes. But on the other side, it also gives you an opportunity to consolidate and save. If I think about, say, an overlap in functions, for instance, if you're paying for Google Workspace and you're paying for Calendly, for example, this presents an opportunity to say, okay, let me check out if Google has appointment scheduling, which they have, whether you're on a free plan or a paid plan, and see if it does a good job as Calendly. And it may be worth seeing if you want to cut one thing off and have all of your collaborative and scheduling things in one place. For some people, the Google Calendar is not fantastic. They're like, I want to pay for Calendar because I have all the setup, I have all the automations, I have all the integrations working there, and that's okay. But the point of this is to identify the overlap. And I would say that as businesses that are busy, we don't always know that. And you may not have the answer today. You may have just gotten like a Honeybook email or a Canva update email and be like, oh, I didn't know Canva now did AI translation. Why am I paying for this other tool that does AI translation, for example? So those are a few thoughts I want to pepper in as you're thinking about your tools and seeing if you can see how they can be grouped together by function, saying, okay, for this function, they would do this. And today's call is not the call to say, I'm cutting this off. Ruth said I should cut it off. No, it's just to at least identify the duplicate functions and, go from there.
And I really appreciate that you keep threading through here that some of this MarTech piece actually pulls into our sales. I think it's really important that we don't silo marketing and lead generation and sales. They work very intimately together. And so I found, again, through doing this work, even though I felt I was savvy in some of the tech pieces I was using, this made me kind of go reinvestigate. I started looking again at like comparison tables of functions. I talked to some sales reps. Like again, Darren's huge, by the way. If ever you're thinking of getting into any kind of MarTech, one job is don't sit there and try and do all the research yourself. Get on the chat with their sales team. That's what they're being paid for, and that's their job to really understand your use case and help you go through it. And I guess the other part about the overlap in functions is for folk who are unfamiliar with the tech side of the world, redundancy is key. It is backups upon backups, right? And we think that that's only affordable to huge companies that have a lot to lose, like AWS and other things like that. But I think it is important for us, especially thinking about scaling in the next while, or maybe you're going to hire a virtual assistant, or you're going to have interns, or you're going to have more employees as you scale. This overlap is important because if anything does go down, people are probably going to look to you as the founder. Or if you're going to work with someone like Ruth, who offers services that also help keep this stuff up and running, they're going to be looking to you as that knowledge holder. So it might seem like this is going to be like drudgery and I don't like tech, but it might actually empower you a bit more as someone paying for these services and using them to realize you have more opportunity. And again, some of those overlaps are you're delighted, and others you're like, there is no need for that overlap. Again, it's funny when you start digging what happens, even in tech, these beautiful conversations that we have with ourselves, which is really interesting. Okay, and I'm gonna check over here. Okay. Yeah, I wish, let me see, Wendy has here. I'm just going to say, I wish Office 365's booking system was better, aka allowing Zoom meetings and not just Teams. I don't mind picking a little bit on this if we have time there, Ruth. Just briefly, what are your insights on what Wendy is offering up here? Thank you, Wendy, for sharing that.
I would say that I'm trying to consolidate my thoughts, right? Because how I would look, I feel like Zoom does really well with integrating with Office 365, but Office 365 and Microsoft are heavily pushing their tools. And I agree that there's a bit of manual work that is required, where if you want to have Zoom and also have the scheduler, I would say that how you can do it is set it up, integrate your calendar with, explore the event scheduler in Zoom and connect it to your Microsoft 365 calendar, because it sounds like you're starting from the Microsoft booking system and trying to connect it with Zoom. Maybe it may just make a difference, but I have seen that most people choose one, like say Microsoft or Google, for this exact reason, because they want to still leverage, and want to ensure that that integration is working well. So I will just throw in that thoughts for this comment.
Is some of this also coming from, in your opinion, Ruth, hot opinion, that in some larger corporations' quests to be one thing for all, and yes, we could argue that Microsoft has the team size to do this. In your experience, is there ever truly one system to rule it all? And do we need to navigate this as founders, that some of this is literally sales and marketing pushing on their part? They're not actually the most effective. What's been your sense on these larger companies trying to eat up and tell us, just come with us, we'll take care of everything?
I have found that all-in-one systems, which is what I call them, saying when you come, you will get all the goodies. You don't always get all the goodies as you want them, because every business is different. Every business's way of using technology is different. And for some people, it is fitting the bill completely. And like Wendy said, the booking system for her is falling short, but I'm sure like the other parts of the ecosystem in 365 is fantastic. And I haven't seen an all-in-one all-in-one system that does everything perfectly, and that is just and that is just realistic. I believe. I think we continue to evolve with AI. They're all peppering AI and forcing us to upgrade to AI-based subscriptions. Who knows? We would eventually get there.
As long as it's made by humans, it's going to be imperfect. And I mean, even if AI, I mean, still a humans be it's a whole. It's humans all the way down, darlings. Let's not make any mistake about it. It's humans all the way down. And our last one here is, here it is. Probably the reason why some folk are watching this right now is, let's just talk to Laros, right? Because this is the backbone of a business. What's the cost, monetary, time, resources for these tools? Tell me a bit more about this question.
I say that this year, the last 1 year, all of our favorite software have all been increasing costs. We can't plan, we can't budget and forecast software subscriptions anymore. You think, oh my God, I'm gonna leave like a 20% increase like in my budget for it, and they go 50 or go 60 or go 70. And so it's like playing catch up. It's always playing catch up. And so this question is to really think about, do I like this tool, how it works, and how it fits into my business? And am I willing to pay whatever price? Or is price extremely important to me and I'm willing to hop from one tool to another just to ensure that it is fitting my budget and where I'm at in my business? People are in different stages of their business. Idea stage business, barely making revenue, making consistent revenue to be able to make these flexible decisions. There is no one answer. I think this question was to really put the facts before you. Say for example, Canva increased their cost at the beginning of this year, late last year, and there was a lot of uproar about it, and they had to dial back for their legacy customers. Not everybody did that. We have had a lot more increases. Microsoft has increased, Google has increased, Honeybook has increased. A lot of them have increased. But you want to think about the cost of how much will it cost me to migrate to this cheaper tool I have found? Can I do it myself? Do I need to get a tech specialist like Ruth to do it? How much will Ruth charge me to do the migration? And then compare that and see which works best for you. Are you willing, the time and the cost of learning the new tool, disconnecting from your existing integrations and reintegrating it again? And I'll throw you back to Alison, because I know Alison also did a big shift with her email marketing, with a lot of things where she was on one email marketing platform and moved to another because it aligned better with her values and where, what her business represents. And so, Alison, for you, for that move, what was the cost for that, so that it can guide the people answer this question?
Yeah, and I'm happy, very transparent about that. I moved from my email marketing platform was Active Campaign, and I moved to a Canadian product called Cyber Impact. And again, not here, no one's paying me to say this. I just think it's really good to share key examples. One of the main reasons that I moved away from Active Campaign was I saw a significant drop in the customer service over the last while of using the program. And my rate was going to be substantially more, as you talked about, Ruth. A big increase happened across the board for a lot of SaaS. So at the same time, I was actually talking with the wonderful folk at Cyber Impact, and I was really interested, again, with the tariff news going on, what a Canadian product would be like. And I was fortunate enough that I work a lot in email marketing, and I love digging around email marketing tech. So I was able to absorb the cost of moving from one platform to the other. But I also want to be clear that them, along with lots of other SaaS, sometimes it's good to touch base with whom you're considering leaving or whom you're going to, because sometimes they offer services or discounts or free services to help them move. And it's not the most prominent thing that they advertise. So I had enough time to kind of talk to both companies and figure out what was available. Cyber Impact had an availability for me to move, and they handled the majority of that movement. And again, I think this goes back to what I'm saying about really leveraging the chat and the customer support and sales team. I've also had clients who've had success wanting to switch their pricing model for some, like actually they wanted to stay with this product, but the pricing of the product was becoming difficult in their pricing cycles. And because they'd already been with that product for a number of years, they were actually able to negotiate with the sales team and move away to a monthly model after years. So sometimes we feel, like you said, with Canva rolling back some of its pricing, sometimes us simply creating conversations with the teams can help us with that. And then the resource side of things as well. I decided to stay with Dubsado. I'm not entirely happy with it right now, but Ruth and I went through the costs of switching it over and getting a CRM set up with all that it does. And it was actually more, it was better for me to pay the year cost as it was coming up. And then I have a game plan in the end of this year. So these are the things to think about. Again, that's just one example for me. It's not about how great a platform is, just what was the cost? Could I move it? Would I get Ruth? Ruth definitely helped me with some Office 365 tomfoolery, because as part of our work, I upgraded to Exchange to help with some syncing issues that I was having. And I was not touching that with a 10-foot pole. I went to Ruth, which was fabulous. So hopefully those two examples can help folks start thinking that you're not alone. You are not held to a standard with these things that if you leave them, you can't have, you actually do have power as a consumer in this. It's just really stopping to reflect on what you need and what those options are to help you make informed decisions instead of knee-jerky, oh my gosh, my credit card billed suggestions. So Ruth, I'm so thankful for your time today. If folk are enjoying this, she has a really great newsletter that I love. I think it comes out, what's the frequency of it? Every like twice a month, I think?
Last Monday of every month. I am
Last Monday of every
building my
month.
way to bi-weekly, but yeah, once every
Yeah.
month, last Monday.
Yeah, and I love it because she's giving me she gives you a really succinct, like Cole's Notes overview of what new updates are happening, if there's new pricing points coming up, if there's something emerging, but it's very accessible to founders who aren't tech savvy, but are still the ones primarily responsible for holding it. So that's just a shout out on prompt, but I love her newsletter. I always feel a little bit smarter. I feel like a little more in control of my MarTech. And I'm just loving, thank you again, Wendy, for that comment. And it was all good. Yes, we're just managing this at our time. Any parting words, Ruth, before we release people out into this muggy Canadian summer?
I would say that I want to leave you with one action item before the end of this week. You've heard all of the cool things we've said. What is one tool you're considering consolidating? What is one tool you're considering cutting off? Look at your subscriptions, note down when they're expiring, and go from there. And the second parting words is that you don't have to go bankrupt with technology, and it doesn't have to be complicated. If it is complicated and giving you grief because everybody else recommended it and it's not working for your business, it's time. It's time. It's time to let it go. That's it from me. Thank you, Alison.
And Ruth is a warm hug, and she'll help you let it go, and she'll help you determine what is to be kept. So, darlings, the bottom of our hearts, thank you for joining us for this session of Marketing Snacks. I hope you all stay hydrated and cool. And Ruth and I are on LinkedIn. Hang out and have a great time. Darlings, thank you so much. I'm just going to see here. I like homework. And I'm sharing the sign up link for the newsletter. I will try to drop it probably into this thing. On StreamYard, I can't actually leave in comments. So I will do that. Thank you for the reminder, Wendy. Ruth, did you want to drop that link right after this call for your newsletter? Just drop it into the comments
Sure.
of here. Wonderful. Awesome. Darlings, from the bottom of our hearts, have a wonderful summer, and we will see you next time on Marketing Snacks. Bye.
Bye.